Distance can be a major barrier to accessing quality healthcare on time. That's where Angel Flight East comes in. Welcome to Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East, a nonprofit dedicated to providing free flights for children and adults who need medical treatment far from home. We don't know how many people forego medical care because they don't have accessible transportation, and that's what this podcast is here to change. Join passionate AFE staff members Jess Ames and Maddie Beck as they share real-life stories from people who have used AFE services to get the care they need when they need it.
Hey, frequent flyers, and welcome back with another episode of Takeoff Talk. You're here with me, Maddie.
And me, Jess.
And today we have Taylor, the mom of one of our passengers, with us. Hi, Taylor.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Do you want to get started by telling everybody a little bit about Kendall's story?
Absolutely. Kendall is my daughter, and she's 9 years of age, and she is battling mitochondrial disease, more specifically Lee syndrome. Lee syndrome is a genetic, although not inherited from Kendall's position. She was a de novo mutation, which means it was just happenstance gene mutation that caused her to regress when she was 2.5 years of age. She was normally developing. And at 2.5, she started showing signs of in-towing and then losing her balance and falling and then not being able to walk. So I guess you might say for the past 7 years, we've been on a journey for a cure, and we've been on journeys for treatments and just trying to find, we've done a drug repurposing study. And we're continuing to do different things and clinical trials to try to help Kendall be able to stay stable until there is a cure.
That's awesome.
Had the pleasure of meeting you and Kendall a couple weeks ago at Wings Field, and I think we all just instantly fell in love with Kendall. So we are so happy we're able to help your family. But how did you hear about Angel Flight? And tell us about your flight experience with us.
Sure. I actually found you guys by Googling CHOP and, aircraft for kids, medically fragile children. The reason why I did the search is that we had an appointment at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and that's 9 hours away from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where we reside. So the experience was wonderful with Angel Flight. We had 2 different pilots. They were both excellent, and they were small aircraft, but the pilots were fantastic. They went the ride up there. One of the pilots played music for us. And that was really calm and soothing on the way up. And then on the way back, we had another pilot. And it was a little bit more talkative, and we had some thunderstorms to contend with. But it was really sweet. He said a prayer for all of us before we took off. And we made it back. And it was a really nice, can't understand and really can't appreciate how much of a gift it was for someone to be able to take their aircraft, their gas, and the donations through Angel Flight to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. So you said it was 9 hours for you guys to get to CHOP if you had to drive?
It would have been 9 hours. And with Kendall, one of the things is a problem is medicine and feeding. And at least 6 hours of my day is spent really trying to feed Kendall and make sure that she gets the proper hydration and that she's drinking anywhere between 26 and 30 ounces a day. And to be able to not have to worry about who's in the back seat, trying to find somebody to ride with us and make sure that she's drinking, that just alleviated so much stress.
How much time was the 2 hours, or not the 2 hours, the 2 flights total?
Oh my goodness. The 2 flights, each flight was probably about 2 hours. So it took a 7-hour we were 7 hours ahead of no burden of staying, in traffic or worrying about Kendall, because I was able to sit in the back of the plane and feed her, hydrate her, and just play games with her and talk with her on the way to Philadelphia and back.
That's awesome.
If you didn't have Angel Flight, would you just continue making the drive, or would you find alternate care for her?
I don't know what I would have done without Angel Flight on this occasion. We're going through a separation right now. And I've been given the temporary custody of the children, and it would have been hard. I don't know that we've always kind of done things as 3 or 4 of us. And this was a different set of circumstances. And trying to find an easy way to get the CHOP. Angel Flight was an angel in this case.
We do not do well with sweaty eyes on a Monday afternoon, so I don't want to
No.
cry right now.
I was going to say, even if it is Tuesday, I really wasn't
Oh,
prepared
yeah.
for my guys' conversation, but
It feels like Monday.
it does. Oh, man. The impact that Angel Flight has had on patients like all across the board is just so insane to me. Because I think about it and I'm like, I don't even want to. For example, I am on my way home from a conference in Lancaster, and Lancaster is an hour. And it's just me, and I'm a perfectly healthy 20-something-year-old. I'm like, I don't even want to do that hour and a half, let alone 9 hours with a medically fragile child.
Well, what it did is that sometimes we've done the drive, we've done the 9 hour drive before to CHOP. And it's tough because you have to stop so many times to get, it usually takes about a week's time. So it doesn't even, 9 hours doesn't even really compute because you can't really do 9 hours straight with a medically fragile child. You stop and you plan your trip. Well, I was planning my backup trip before Angel Flight said, "Hey, we've got you." And my backup plan was to drive from Charlotte, stay at Richmond, north of Richmond for the night, and then try to go 4 more hours the next day to Philadelphia. And so that would have been 2 days to get to Philadelphia. Then she's in a day of doing complete, I guess, appointments, all day long appointments. It started at like 9 o'clock and we ended that day about 4:45 at the hospital. So,
Wow.
and then going back the next 2 days, going back to try to get home the same way, 4 hours, stay over the night in Richmond, and then try to get back to Concord, the Charlotte area. So having Angel Flight come in and sort of to the rescue to say, "Hey, we can get you there much quicker, much faster." And the toll that it takes on Kendall, that was just a burden because lifted because normally you just have to get out. Even that 4 hours is really an 8 hour, even though you might be driving 4, we take breaks, try to get her out of the car, try to stretch her legs and walk a little bit, let her have her walker. And we didn't have to worry about any of that. So big thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of Kendall's. We couldn't thank you and be so much more appreciative to doing what you guys did for us.
And when you were here,
Go ahead, Jeff.
you had also given us our little croc charms that had Kendall's website on it. So can you talk about that? Because you're raising money for just to raise awareness about her condition or to find a cure.
Sure. The website that the Croc Charms, I'll give kudos to Callan, who is Kendall's brother. He's 14. And middle schoolers were really into Crocs the past 2 or 3 years. So last year during spring break, Callan came up with the idea to fundraise, and he made these little mitochondria that go into the Crocs. And Kendall, we actually modified her braces and made holes in the braces so they could join her and affix to the Croc Charms. But we gave these out at Symposium last year, and we've given them out just different people that we come across. And when I refer to Symposium, UMDF is the United Mitochondrial Disease Foundation, is the foundation where Kendall's research fund is held at. And I apologize, we're actually near an Air Force and military base, so you can hear military planes going in the distance.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. We're on the coast of North Carolina for this call. And so the Croc Charms, though, have been great because it's been able to drive awareness, like what is mitochondrial disease? What is sleep syndrome? And it also kind of goes back to the website to kind of explain things to whether it's parents of children or the children themselves to say, what's going on with Kendall? Why is she not able to walk like the rest of us, or what's going on? And it's an easy way for them to go and learn more about the disease and what we're doing for research. Currently, with the research that we've done a drug repurposing study. And if you go onto that website, it's swimdf.org/Kendall Connor. And Kendall is Kendall and Connor is CONNER. I hope you guys can hear over the planes. The Kendall Connor Research Fund on UMDF, or if you Google it, it'll pop up and kind of tell you a little bit more about Kendall's journey, some of the things that we're dealing with. One of the things I didn't mention about is seizures. And that's something we really don't like to talk about. It's not really been talked about too much on our website I'm kind of hopeful that they'll go away, but it's another stressor. And that would have been like, who would have been in the back seat with her, not only trying to get her to drink and eat, but if that happens, where am I going to pull off? So the pilots were fantastic. And we were fortunate that we didn't have really any terrible episodes on our trip.
Wow. And I know that you had mentioned
answered your question. Follow up.
It definitely did. I know that you had mentioned bringing some notes home with you from your flights about how everything went and things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, as I was just on the flight, I was just writing some things down to just, these were just jotted notes, but I could not thank Angel Flight East enough for helping get Kendall to CHOP. And it talked about basically the previous trip took more than 9 hours, which was really a week. When you think about it, 2 days up, 2 days back, and a day of, at the hospital to go for that visit. And we did this in a day, which, and we did it in a couple of hours, 2 hours, and we were there and 2 hours back, which was huge. I mean, you're not looking at a full week of driving to get to CHOP. So I think, that's part of it. The other part of it was commercial flights were not an option in this case. The commercial flights would have been packed with 100 to 200 people on a flight. And for a child with mitochondrial disease, it is one of the things that all the doctors have told us with the mito specialists is try to keep your child healthy, because if they get sick, then they decline in certain areas. We've noticed Kendall before decline, not only in her mobility, being able to walk, but also being able to speak. And her speech, I think, as you guys have seen, is not where it was 2 or 3 years ago. She now talks with an iPad. Sometimes if she can't be understood on the third try, she's able to use an iPad to communicate. So things have changed. And, we would not want to put Kendall and risk her health to put her on a commercial air flight with, possibly 100 to 200 people on it. And so, again, Angel Flights East just removed that stress, and we're very thankful.
That's amazing. I'm so happy you found us.
I'm so happy I found you.
So is there one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I think for your donors and supporters, and your pilots, I just want to say thank you. It meant the world to us. I mean, to have the ease of getting to medical care that's needed for your child to be able, they did research at CHOP. So that's one of the mitochondrial frontier programs, is one of the top and the leading programs for mitochondrial disease in the country. And so we want to be there. We want to see the best doctors and the specialists. Kendall is also right now, she's one of 2 individuals with this particular gene mutation living in the world. We had 2 other individuals. She was like an N4. And the other 2 children passed away during the COVID timeframe. One was in Italy and the other one was in the UK. And so our hearts sunk a little bit knowing those families and knowing the children. It was something that is, I guess it makes it more real that, your child's one of the few standing. And so we're trying to get the best research we can. It's tough because we're not something that's is affected by a lot of children. When you've got a rare, super rare disease kiddo, the research is not there because a lot of people just don't know about it. And so you're just trying to drive awareness for your kid. Maybe the right researcher might listen to a story, a podcast, and anything and say, you know what, we might have something that could help your child. And so getting that message out is super important, but also getting her to those mitochondrial specialists is super important because there's not a lot of doctors who even know what Lee syndrome is.
Oh, well, that's an exhale.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I really hope somebody out there listens to this and has some more extensive research behind it. Because you're right, that is just such a scary and hard thing when you have a child who has such a rare disease that there's not really any medical backing to it just yet.
Well, again, your organization just took a lot of stress off of our shoulders to get her there and made it so much easier for Kendall to not have to endure 9 hours of drive time and a week to get to the right medical professionals. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
We are Kendall's biggest fans.
We are. Thank you so much for sharing her story today.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having us.
That's it for today's episode of Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East. If you want to learn more about our services, please visit our website at www.angelflighteast.org or call our office at 215-358-1900. Join us in our mission. If you're a healthcare worker or a patient in need of air travel and flight services, AFE is here for you. Subscribe to the show so you can hear more stories. Join us again next week right here on Takeoff Talk.